Final day on the NFL calendar, an important date for some teams looking to save some dough. Senior NFL reporter Jeremy Fowler is here with us now to explain. There's a number of notable players and teams that are impacted by today's date. So take us through it, starting with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, this is the time of year, and now that we're into June, teams can prorate salary cap money if they trade a big-name player. It saves them on the cap. We'll start with Kirk Cousins here, Atlanta Falcons. So we know he wants a new home. He's sort of in quarterback purgatory right now because the Falcons are holding on to him. If they are to trade him this summer, they would save $27.5 million on their salary cap. The problem is that $27.5 is fully guaranteed. They need to find a team that will pay at least a healthy portion of that. As of now, that has not happened, and that quarterback market is dried up. Pittsburgh is still angling for Aaron Rodgers, so we'll see. Maybe he's a backup plan. Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins can save around $15 million on the cap now that we are into June if they were to trade him. It seems like the Dolphins and Hill have smoothed things out despite some turmoil late in the year. Hill has been saying the right things of late, but he's got a $15.85 million roster bonus due at the end of the summer, August 31st. So perhaps that's a trigger date if there are enough interested teams to swing a trade. So Miami might keep Hill. However, they are likely to trade that man, Jalen Ramsey. They've been engaged with multiple teams on a trade. The LA Rams, Ramsey's former team, have been in the mix. I'm told he's at least on the players' radar. We'll see if they get to the point where they get a deal done. The tricky part here is that $24 million in guaranteed salary. But now that we are into June, the Dolphins can save around $10 million on their cap once they get this trade done. That would free them up for some flexibility, maybe sign a veteran cornerback on the market. And then you got Bryce Huff. So he was on the bench for the Eagles. This was destined to be a trade. It looks like they're going to finalize the trade with the San Francisco 49ers, according to our Adam Schefter. And I've been hearing that San Fran has been in on this since March. They've been kind of poking around on Huff. They like him. They feel like he can impact Robert Saleh's defense. The Eagles have to spread out his guaranteed salary. They're probably going to split the money with San Francisco, but they're going to save about $8 million on their salary cap.
Yeah, just as you mentioned, Huff was a healthy scratch for Philly in the Super Bowl, so we'll see what kind of impact he can make in San Fran. So let's pivot to another team that'll look very different this season, the Patriots. They can have up to 11 new starters in Week 1 under new head coach Mike Vrabel. So what's the buzz around New England headed into this season?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the Patriots, and I've asked some people around the league, some personnel folks, and they're thinking that they can push in the AFC East. Maybe not supplant Buffalo at the top, but you look at the Jets in transition, the Dolphins in transition. Patriots are coming up with Mike Vrabel, new leadership. You know the defense is usually going to be good. There are enough believers around the league in Drake May that he can get things done. 3 new starters on the offensive line. You got a veteran like Morgan Moses, draft pick Will Campbell. They're going to be better up front. So the key is, can they pass the ball? I mean, they haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Julian Edelman. Ooh. It's been a while. Watch for third-round pick Kyle Williams. They're really high on him.
Yeah, the win total for New England at ESPN Bet is set at 8.5. They only
Show me the money, Jerry. In the NFL, big names are waiting, hoping, and wishing, and picking up the phone, calling those agents, wondering when that big payday and extension is coming. For some, it may be just a matter of time, but it may not be the same for others. For much more on the latest deals in the league, hoping to get done, let's go ahead and welcome in our own Tyler Sullivan for more. Tyler, great to see you. Let's start with the Bengals here, who remain at odds with defensive end Trey Hendrickson, who hasn't signed. Meanwhile, the guy they drafted to replace him, Shamar Stewart, is also holding out due to specific language in his contract. But just how big of a problem could all of this be for the Bengals?
Yeah, Jordan, I'm not so much concerned about Shamar Stewart because the rookie contracts, they're pretty much set in stone. As you referenced, there is some room for negotiation, but it's really just like specific language in terms of when they get paid and guarantees and things like that. So I ultimately believe that'll get done. The thing that should scare Cincinnati Bengals fans is the Trey Hendrickson situation. For me, this was the story of the offseason because if they were able to retain Trey Hendrickson and get him to a contract extension that he's comfortable with, we can start talking about the Cincinnati Bengals as a Super Bowl contender again. But right now, I don't think that we can. It's commendable as it was and impressive as it was that they were able to retain Jamar Chase. You're obviously going to do that, but also keep T. Higgins. That's great. But what was the issue for the Cincinnati Bengals last season? It was a poor start, of course, but also really poor play defensively. Just for a frame of reference, they were awful in the red zone. The opponents, when they got in there, they scored a touchdown, basically 68% of the time, third worst in the NFL. So you're now expecting Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to what? Score 30 every single game? So you need Trey Hendrickson in tow. I don't believe that it's going to get there, though. It seems like it's getting personal. He's making those comments saying, like, listen, I was trying to be a good soldier, but now it's getting a little bit more personal. I think this could lead to a trade, and if we're talking then about Shamar Stewart, I don't know if he's ready to help cushion the blow of losing Trey Hendrickson. This is a guy that had 4.5 sacks during his entire collegiate career. He's a raw prospect. He's not someone that you can plug and play and expect 17.5 sacks like Trey Hendrickson had last year. So it's a little uneasy right now for the Cincinnati Bengals, for a team that spent a lot this offseason.
Big yikes. Things are getting messy there in Cincinnati. We'll wait and see. Now, another big-time defensive end who hasn't received a deal is Steelers defensive end T.J. Watt. We don't have to stress, right, about how big of a player Watt is. But for the Steelers, do you think this is a real reason for concern, or is it just a matter of fact of ironing out the details?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I'll sit on the fence a little bit with this one. And the longer it goes on, you get a little bit more uneasy. But I think if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you understand how important T.J. Watt is, not only to your defense, but to your organization internally as well. He's been one of the faces, if not the face, of your franchise over the last handful of years. The question for me is, what kind of a deal are we looking at here for T.J. Watt? He's coming at the end of one that made him the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. He is not that anymore. Is he looking to take that title back? Is he trying to go over the top of a guy like Myles Garrett, who's making $40 million per season? Or is he looking to go the Danielle Hunter route? He's a little bit more in the mid-30s. What are we looking at here from T.J. Watt? Right now, he's making around $28 million per season in average annual salary. So he's going to get a raise. My question is, how substantial is that raise going to be? Is he trying to reset the market, or just to get back inside that top 5, top 3 at a more respectable level?
Can you throw out a number there, Tyler? Like, what feels right for you?
I think the Danielle Hunter average annual salary, again, he signed an extension this offseason that was just 1 year. I don't think that T.J. Watt's going to sign a 1-year extension, but around $35 million per season, I think that that makes a little bit more sense for T.J. Watt. Again, if he wants to try to break the market again and go over $40 million over Myles Garrett, you know, I won't fight him for it, get your money. But if we're talking about what's realistic, maybe somewhere in the Danielle Hunter range. They're around the same age, 31 years old this season, so $35 million AAV seems to make sense.
All right, well, if it's me and you, we're shooting for the stars. Let's just full send there. Let's get to the offensive side of the ball. Terry McLaurin, he hasn't showed up to Commanders OTAs, and this is something he's done before. It's no secret. He's the heartbeat of this team, loved by the city, the fan base, and is due for a big payday. The Commanders did acquire Deebo Samuel this offseason to really bolster that wide receiver room. Should we pump the brakes on this and not read into it too much?
I wouldn't get super concerned here with Terry McLaurin. Again, like you said, we've kind of seen this before, and I don't think the Washington Commanders are in any position to try to move off of Terry McLaurin or anything like that. Like, they don't